Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes coming off their second Super Bowl win in franchise history. They will be picking 32nd in the first round. Our quarterback, Dan Orlovsky, is with us now. Max, you're up first. I know how much you love Patrick Mahomes. How much pressure is on him and the Chiefs to repeat?
There's a good amount of pressure on them to repeat, even if it's not apparent at this moment. You know, I was bringing up last year during the season, because a lot of people had kind of forgotten about the Chiefs midway. You just didn't hear their names come up as much. Mahomes was hurt for a couple weeks. They didn't look like a juggernaut always. The Ravens were rolling. The Patriots were rolling. At different times, you heard the Niners. Those teams pop up. And, in fact, I asked in the show, have we forgotten about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? They're so dynamic offensively. They redid their defense. And by the time the playoffs roll around, you go, when you look at each individual game, well, who do you think's going to win that game? Great coach, reworked defense, offensive weapons, and Patrick Mahomes. You got, I guess, the Chiefs. And that went for basically every single game. Who do you think's going to win? The Chiefs. The Chiefs should win. They have Mahomes. They're good enough to be in the playoffs, and they have Mahomes. And the same dynamic will play out. When you look at the odds-on favorites to start the season, there you'll see the Chiefs among the teams. At every point in this season, they'll be right there. And when those kind of expectations are on a team, sure, they have some things to do in the draft, of course, like all other teams. But when those kind of expectations are on the team, coach in place, quarterback in place at the highest possible level, other pieces around them, when the playoffs roll around, they'll be expected to make the playoffs. They will likely be favored in every game in the playoffs. And if they come up short, people will point, what happened to the Chiefs? That's pressure. They're the defending champs.
I disagree. I don't think there's much pressure because Patrick Mahomes is only 24 years of age. He's absolutely phenomenal, and he has plenty of time to exude his level of excellence. If he was in the tail end of his career, I think there's more pressure on Aaron Rodgers than there is on Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers is considerably older, obviously, and not only that, he hasn't had a Super Bowl appearance nor a title since 2010. Patrick Mahomes could very well come back next year, make the playoffs, lose, and still have an illustrious career waiting for him spanning the next decade plus. And so when I look at it from that perspective, that's where I think the pressure is dissipated. It would be mounting if he was throwing 50 touchdowns and being as excellent as he was, winning league MVP honors, and there was no championship to point to. But the fact that he already has a Super Bowl championship and a Super Bowl MVP at the age of 24, and obviously a lot of success ahead of him when you consider the fact that Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and these boys aren't planning on going anywhere, I wouldn't say there's a mountain of pressure on Patrick Mahomes' shoulder next season, or Andy Reid for that matter, because Andy Reid went the first 20 years without a Super Bowl ring. Now he's a champion, and he was considered a great coach before he won the Super Bowl. So I don't think that it's that kind of pressure on them next year. They can't fall off the wagon and not even make the playoffs. But I definitely think that as long as they're talented and competitive, I think that that's all that anybody can expect from them right now, and I don't think it's that level of pressure that people believe.
Yeah, the Chiefs aren't under an insurmountable amount of pressure to win the Super Bowl this year. Now, first of all, pressure is something that you apply, not something that you feel. And there's no team in the NFL right now that can apply more pressure to teams that they play against than the Kansas City Chiefs. And it starts with Patrick Mahomes, and Stephen A. is exactly right. He's still very young. This kid's not going anywhere for at least a decade and a half. They're going to have him for a decade and a half. But I want to look at it a little bit deeper, because when I talk about the ability to kind of apply pressure to other teams, it's not just Patrick Mahomes. Look at their front office. Look at Brett Veach, their general manager. Since he's been a part of the Chiefs organization, he started really as a development of player personnel, and then he entered into the general manager role. I want to read off some of the names that he's been a part of drafting in the last 7 years. In 2013, he took Eric Fisher in the first round and Travis Kelce in the third round. 2014, Dee Ford. 2015, Marcus Peters and Mitch Morse in the second round, one of the better centers in the NFL. 16, he takes Chris Jones in the second round, which was a little bit of a reach by people's opinion. DeMarcus Robinson, Tyreek Hill in the fifth round. In 2017, He gets a guy named Patrick Mahomes and Kareem Hunt in the 3rd round. Last year, Mecole Hardman in the 2nd round, Juan Thornhill in the 2nd round, Kalen Saunders in the 3rd round. So you can apply pressure to these other teams when you have a great general manager. And Brett Veach is a great general manager. He's not going anywhere. He's going to continue to draft really good players. He doesn't have to win this year. Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere. He's going to be there for a decade and a half. And I look at guys like, listen, John Elway early in his career went to the Super Bowl, didn't win it, ended up winning it late. Peyton Manning obviously switched teams, but if you look at Tom Brady, won a bunch early, had that stretch, ended up winning some at the back end of his career. And so Drew Brees has been super close after winning one early. So they don't have to win one right here. Their window is going to be really long with Patrick Mahomes, Brett Veach, and that cap going up.
I think you make a lot of great points, Dan. And Stephen A., you're talking about there's more pressure on Aaron Rodgers. Yes, I would not say Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are facing more pressure than any other team in the NFL. But how are they facing pressure? Yes. And that means more than like a run-of-the-mill team. The answer is yes. And I think, in fact, Mahomes in particular is facing quite a bit. I understand what you guys mean. He's very young. He has a lot of time. That's all true. That's why I would say the clock is ticking on Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, guys like that. Tom Brady's facing a lot because he switched teams, all that kind of stuff. But this is what I mean when I say Mahomes, and the 2 different sports, no player can have the impact in football on a team that a star player in the NBA can have. When I say Mahomes is the closest thing we've seen to Jordan, this is what I mean. Mahomes got everything he needs for the reasons you point out, Dan. Just like Jordan when he had Phil Jackson in a front office and Scottie Pippen and everything. Mahomes has everything he needs. He's the best player maybe ever. And I'm not saying the greatest, not the most accomplished, but operating on the highest level. He's in his prime. Right now, he will be favored. That's pressure.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.